Welcome back to the channel, everybody, for a tier list video. I honestly don't even remember what the last tier list video I would have uploaded was about, but it had to have been like 2+ years ago. But if you're an OG subscriber, you would know I used to do these a lot. I think they're a ton of fun, so I kind of wanted to reintroduce them to the channel. I went on Tier Maker and searched up NHL, and I think there's a lot of ones that could make for fun videos in the future, but I figured what better way to start than just by ranking every NHL team heading into this season. As you can see on the screen here, we're going to be ranking them in 5 categories. We have Stanley Cup contenders, playoff lock, wildcard hunt, competitive, and Bedard. So that's the basement of the league, the teams that are going to be in the Bedard sweepstakes. I'm interested to see what your guys' list would look like, so be sure to give this a try for yourself. Put together a list, and then you can either take a screenshot, tag me in it on Twitter, Instagram, something like that. I really want to know what your guys would look like. With that all being said, though, let's go ahead and get started. We have the Anaheim Ducks. I'm going to put them in competitive. I don't think they're going to be in the Bedard sweepstakes, but I also don't expect them to be like a legit wildcard threat. Obviously, they weren't awful this past season, but then they sold a lot at the deadline. Lindholm, Manson, Raquel, all those guys are going to be gone now. But they did also add a little bit in the offseason, signing Ryan Strome and signing John Klingberg to that 1-year deal. So I kind of expect them to have a season similar to the one that they just had. So I'm going to put them in competitive. Next up, we have the Arizona Coyotes. I think it's pretty safe to say that they are going to be in the Connor Bedard sweepstakes. I don't really have to explain that one too much. I will say I am actually kind of excited to see what it's like watching an NHL team play in like a college arena. I think their home games at ASU are going to be must-see TV, so I'm actually kind of excited to see the Coyotes play, which is something I haven't said heading into the past like 4 or 5 seasons. The Boston Bruins, I'm putting them in wildcard hunt. I definitely don't think you can call them a playoff lock, considering the likes of Brad Marchand, Charlie McAvoy are going to be out for a couple of months to start the season, Matt Grzelcyk as well, and obviously Krejci's coming back after a year off in the NHL. We don't really know what to expect from them, or at least I don't personally, so I'm putting them in the wildcard hunt. The Buffalo Sabres, this is a tough one. I am gonna put them in competitive. I loved what I saw from the Buffalo Sabres just in terms of compete level and how a lot of the new faces looked towards the end of last season. If they can continue that into this year, I definitely expect them to be a competitive team and not be a complete dumpster fire. The Calgary Flames, I'm going with playoff lock for them. I feel like some people may think they're going to be in the wildcard hunt, but I honestly think you can make an argument that the Flames got better over the offseason. Obviously, the team chemistry probably took a little bit of a hit. You know, you lost 2/3 of one of the best lines in hockey from this past season in Gaudreau and Tkachuk, but now you have Huberdeau. The blue line got better with Mackenzie Weegar. You got better down the middle with Nazem Kadri. Still have a great defensive system there under Daryl Sutter. Still have one of the better goalies in the league, so I definitely expect Calgary to be a playoff lock in the Pacific Division. The Carolina Hurricanes, call me crazy. I know they haven't been able to get over the hump and, get out of the second round, but I'm going to put them up there in Stanley Cup contenders. They've had that core together for a while. They've been a perennial playoff team. Like I said, they just haven't been able to get over that hump in the playoffs. I really like a lot of the additions they made this offseason. Max Pacioretty, obviously huge pickup. It's unfortunate he's going to miss so much time to start the season, but he's going to be there in the playoffs. Brent Burns, I think, is a huge pickup as well, and I think we're going to see a great season from Brent Burns now that he's not going to have to play, some of the biggest minutes in the league. They also signed Paul Stastny to a 1-year, $1.5 million deal or something along the lines of that. They are a very deep team. Like I said, they've been together for a long time, have one of the best coaches in the league, so I'm putting them up there as Stanley Cup contenders. The Chicago Blackhawks, I think based off of the moves they made this offseason, they have no plans on being competitive, so I'm going to put them in the Bedard sweepstakes. Don't really feel like there's much of an argument to make to put them any higher, so Bedard sweepstakes for the Blackhawks. The Colorado Avalanche, obviously defending Stanley Cup champions, they have to be in Stanley Cup contenders. Sure, they lost a good bit this offseason. Darcy Kemper left, Kadri left, Burakovsky left, so there's some holes to be filled, but I feel like you have to put the defending champs up there as Stanley Cup contenders. They should be a powerhouse again. The Columbus Blue Jackets, I feel like some of you may think they should be down here, but I'm actually going to put them in the wildcard hunt. I made a bold prediction in my bold predictions video that I said Columbus would be a playoff team this year. Obviously, they were able to land the big fish in the offseason in getting Johnny Gaudreau. I think him and Patrick Laine are going to be dynamite together. I expect Kent Johnson to be one of the better rookies in the league. Cole Sillinger is going to get better, you'd hope, in his sophomore season. I like Elvis's ability to steal games for them. He's shown flashes in his career at points where he looks like a top 10-ish goaltender in the league. I guess maybe I'm just a little bit higher on the Blue Jackets than everyone else, but I expect them to be in the wildcard hunt down the stretch. The Dallas Stars, I'm also going to put them in the wildcard hunt. A little bit concerning, some of the things that their owner had to say recently, kind of calling out Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn, also saying he's not a fan of giving huge contracts to young stars coming out of ELCs, and I feel like it's not a coincidence that he says that while Robertson and Ottinger are still unsigned, so they gotta get that cleaned up. They gotta get those guys signed before training camp. But Dallas has a strong team. I'm sure they're gonna get those guys under contract eventually, so I definitely expect them to be in the wildcard hunt, but I wouldn't call them a playoff lock either. The Red Wings. Now this is a tough one. I wish there was like kind of another tier here in between wildcard hunt and competitive. I'm gonna put them in competitive just because on paper they got a lot better, obviously, but there's no guarantee that that's gonna lead to results on the ice. As a Red Wings fan, I obviously hope that they're gonna be in the wildcard hunt down the stretch, but hey, we're gonna have to wait and see. I feel like a lot of people will call me biased if I put them up there, but I don't know, I'm kind of teetering in between. Maybe I'll change it at the end when I revise it, but for now, I'm gonna put the Red Wings in competitive. The Edmonton Oilers, I'm gonna go ahead and call them a playoff lock. I don't see any reason why they can't have another season like the one that they just had. They got better over the offseason, in my opinion, picking up a guy like Jack Campbell, finally getting some stability in net. You're gonna have a full season with Evander Kane as well, who scored at, a 40-goal pace with them during the regular season last year. Obviously was a beast in the playoffs as well, so I would definitely be kind of shocked if Edmonton missed the playoffs this year, so they're in playoff lock for me. The Florida Panthers, I'm also gonna put them in playoff lock. I feel like some people may have them up there as Stanley Cup contenders, but they definitely got, I won't say they got a lot worse, but I definitely do feel like they got worse. I really feel like they're gonna miss Mackenzie Weegar. Obviously, Tkachuk and Huberdeau, you can kind of say they cancel each other out, maybe depending on how you look at that. And then obviously you got to think about Giroux and Sherratt. The additions they made at the trade deadline went and signed elsewhere in free agency. I still fully expect Florida to be a top 3 team in the Atlantic, hence why I have them here in playoff lock, but I don't really think they're going to be the dominant regular season team that they were last year and, be in the President's Trophy hunt. So playoff lock for the Panthers. The Los Angeles Kings, man, I want to put them in playoff lock. I'm going to. They just had a 99-point season, or I think it was 99. I'm not quite sure if they had 100, but it was in between 99 and 100 points. And then in the postseason, they pushed Edmonton all the way to Game 7, and then of course the Oilers ended up going all the way to the Western Conference Finals. The LA Kings are an up-and-coming team, and they got better over the offseason. I love the addition of Kevin Fiala. I think a lot of their young guys are going to get better as well. This is a team that's going to be very good for a long time, in my opinion. You also have to factor in that Drew Doughty missed a lot of last season. They're going to get him back. I think the LA Kings are going to be a very good team in the Western Conference, so I'm confident in putting them in playoff lock. Next up, we have the Wild. I'm going to go ahead and say they're a playoff lock as well. I definitely feel like they're going to miss Kevin Fiala and that scoring depth on the wing, on the second line behind Kaprizov, but I think having Boldy for a full season is going to help. Obviously, Marco Rossi is expected to make the team and be an impactful player. Even with Kevin Fiala being gone and them not really getting anything in return that can help them now, they kind of just got futures. I still think the Wild are going to be one of the better teams in the Central Division, so I think they're going to be a playoff lock. The Montreal Canadiens, this is a tough one. I'm going to put them in the Bedard sweepstakes, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them overachieve a little bit and maybe be a lot more competitive than some people think. The Nashville Predators, wildcard hunt for sure. Obviously, they made it into the playoffs this past season, were bounced pretty easily in the first round, but I fully expect them to have a year similar to that. They brought back pretty much the same team with some additions. Ryan McDonough's coming in, Nino Niederreiter. When you have a good veteran core like they have and one of the better goaltenders in the league, it'll probably be pretty hard for them not to be in the wildcard hunt. The New Jersey Devils, I'm going to put them in competitive, but at some point they have to take that next step, right? They have to get out of the basement of the league and be a wildcard contender. Is that going to happen this season? Maybe. I don't think it's impossible, but for now I'm going to play it safe and just put them in competitive. The New York Islanders, now this is a tough one. Obviously they just had a miserable season considering the expectations that a lot of people had for them, and I'm sure they had for themselves heading into this past year. I'm going to put them in the wildcard hunt. I think they're going to bounce back. I think they're going to be better, but I'm not confident in calling them a playoff lock at all. So wildcard hunt for the Islanders. The New York Rangers, I'm putting the Rangers up there as Stanley Cup contenders. They just made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, put up a valiant effort against the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I think we can say the Rangers got better. I love the addition of Vincent Trocheck. I think you're going to see Capo Caco and Alexis Lafreniere take another step forward in their progression as well. I feel like maybe you can make the argument that it's a little bit too premature to put them up there as Stanley Cup contenders, but I'm doing it anyways. Next up, we have the Ottawa Senators. I'm going to go wildcard hunt for them. I just feel like they got so much better. Definitely one of the more improved teams of the offseason. And actually, now that I think of it, I'm firing the Red Wings up there. I kind of put them in a tier with the Ottawa Senators, two of the most improved teams of the offseason. The Ottawa Senators look like they might have one of the most exciting top sixes in terms of forwards in the league. It seems like both the Senators and Red Wings are sick of being jokes of the league. They're sick of being terrible, so I think they're going to be a little bit more than competitive. I think they could be in the wildcard hunt down the stretch, so I think both of them in wildcard hunt makes sense. The Philadelphia Flyers, I'm going to put them in competitive. Obviously, they just had a miserable season. They're still trying to remain like a playoff contender with the core that they have, which I don't think is a good idea. In my opinion, it's time for the Flyers to tear it down a little bit, go through a mini rebuild, but Chuck Fletcher seems to have no intentions on doing so. I definitely think they're going to be better than they were last year. It would be hard not to, but I'm not confident in saying they're going to be in the playoff race either, so I'll just put them in competitive for now. The Pittsburgh Penguins, this is a really tough one for me. I'm gonna say wildcard hunt, I think. Actually, well, I'm thinking like Metro Division. I think the Rangers and Carolina Hurricanes are like locks to be in the top 2 seeds in that division. And then I feel like it's really between Washington and Pittsburgh for that 3 seed. Since I feel like, oh man, this is a tough one. I'm gonna be safe and put them in, playoff lock. I mean, they've made the playoffs for how many years in a row? Like 17, 18 years. So until proven otherwise, let's just put Pittsburgh in playoff lock for now. The San Jose Sharks, I'm actually throwing them down there in the Bedard sweepstakes. I just think that team stinks. You know, they got worse over the offseason, in my opinion, with Brent Burns being dealt out to the Carolina Hurricanes. And the core just keeps getting older and older. Sure, William Eklund is going to come in and probably, you know, maybe inject some life into that team, but I don't really see them doing anything. I don't see them being too competitive, so Bedard sweepstakes for the Sharks, and honestly I think that would be best for the future of their franchise if they are in the Bedard sweepstakes. The Seattle Kraken, I'm going to put them in competitive. I think they improved a lot over the offseason in areas where they needed to improve. They needed scoring, especially on the wing. You get Bjorkstrand and Andre Burakovsky in there. They should both definitely help tremendously. Should have one of the best rookies in the league in Matty Beniers. Maybe Shane Wright could come in and be impactful right away. I definitely think the Seattle Kraken are going to be a lot better than they were this past season. I also don't expect Grubauer to be near as bad as he was, so they're definitely going to improve in my opinion. I will go competitive for them. The St. Louis Blues, I'm going to go playoff lock for them. I think the top 3 seeds in the Central are going to be the same as they were last year in whatever order: Colorado, Minnesota, and St. Louis. The Blues have a really good core. They're bringing back mostly the same team. They're battle tested. I definitely expect them to make the playoffs. I'd be surprised if they didn't. The Tampa Bay Lightning, Stanley Cup contenders. I mean, they just made it to the Stanley Cup Finals for the 3rd year in a row. Weren't able to three-peat, but obviously that is a team that knows how to win. They have that next man up mentality. If they get injuries, players step up. They're just coached so well. They have such a good structure, such a good core, and as long as they have that core intact, I'm going to be calling them Stanley Cup contenders until proven otherwise. The Toronto Maple Leafs, this is a tough one. I feel like you can make the argument that they should be up there as Stanley Cup contenders, but I just feel like a team that hasn't been able to get out of the first round with the core that they have, you know, for however many years in a row it's been. I feel like you can't really say that about them, so I'm putting them in playoff lock, but they definitely are close to being cup contenders, I feel like. I mean, they took Tampa Bay to 7 games. They were up 3-2 in Game 6 overtime. Were 1 goal away from eliminating them, and then obviously Tampa Bay made it all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. That very easily could have been the Maple Leafs, so I'm not really going to argue with you if you think they should be up here, but just based off of the fact that they still haven't got out of the first round, I'm going to be safe and put them in playoff lock. The Vancouver Canucks, wildcard hunt for sure. I mean, if they would have had Bruce Boudreau as the head coach for the entirety of last season, they probably would have made the playoffs. They were one of the best teams in the league, especially defensively the second half of the season. So I'd be really surprised if Vancouver is, you know, in the bottom 10 in the league or whatever. I think they're going to be in the wildcard hunt for sure. The Vegas Golden Knights, I'm saying playoff lock for them. I know their goaltending situation is very shaky. They're going into next season with Brossoit, Logan Thompson, and Aiden Hill. It really sucks that Robin Leonard's going to be out for the entire year, but I would be genuinely shocked if Vegas missed the playoffs again, even considering the goaltending situation. They were still in the wildcard hunt. They were still close to making the playoffs last season, even though they had some of the worst injury luck in the entire league, so I definitely expect them to make the playoffs this upcoming season. Again, be very shocked if they don't. The Washington Capitals, I'm just going to use the same logic I used with the Pittsburgh Penguins. They've made the playoffs for how many years in a row now? It's got to be pushing 10 seasons in a row. I actually think the Capitals got better over the offseason, getting Darcy Kemper, also signing Dylan Strome, who I feel like is one of the more underrated additions of the entire summer. So for the Caps, I'm going to say they are a playoff lock until the one season comes along where they don't make the playoffs. And now we have the final team for this tier list, the Winnipeg Jets, and I'm going to chuck them in the wildcard hunt. They were one of the most quiet teams this offseason. They literally didn't do much of anything at all. They're bringing back pretty much the same team, except Paul Stassi's not going to be there. He signed in Carolina, so I guess guess maybe you could say they got a little bit worse. I still think with the core that they have, with the elite, forwards they have offensively, and, one of the best goaltenders on the planet in Connor Hellebuyck, they should be at the very least in the playoff hunt. I don't think they're going to be, a bottom 10 team in the league, so I'm putting them in wildcard hunt. So that is my tier list. I'm sure it's going to piss some people off. I mean, how couldn't it? But I am really interested to hear your guys' thoughts on this and to see your tier list. Again, like I said at the beginning, be sure to go try this out for yourself. Tag me in yours on Twitter, tag me in it on Instagram or something like that. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to see more tier lists in the near future, be sure to leave it a like. That's the best way to show your support. I'm definitely really interested in doing more of these in the coming days. And of course, most importantly, if this was your first time checking out the channel and you want more NHL content just like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you all soon.